Peter, DC coming up this weekend. You guys, looking to get your first win of the season. I guess what are you guys feeling going into this one?
Better than maybe a week ago, just for a number of reasons. Maybe a few more days training. We had to cancel one this week, but getting a few more days training is good. A little more familiarity with the players for them between themselves. And I also think that getting a lot of those guys on the field for games has helped since they haven't been with us during preseason.
And you look at this DC team, they've got a striker who's aerially one of the best in the league and maybe that the league has seen in a long time. How do you handle a guy like that?
When you're defending crosses into the box, you cannot just position yourself to the ball or to the men. You have to, a guy like him, you have to keep him within arm's reach, and you're not playing man, you're not playing ball, you're a little bit in between, and your body, what does have to be in the right place is your body position regarding where the ball is coming from. To your point, him being very good in the air, I don't think you're going to eliminate all balls from him. What you got to do is that if you're either winning it or you're not giving him a clean header on the ball. And so you have to be in that mindset.
We just talked with Jacob Bartlett. I guess, what has he done so far this year that's given you the confidence to send him out there every game?
We knew when we were, when he's come, I think 2 years now, or this might be his third, I think. I can't remember, but he's come to preseason. And he's obviously trained with us, all throughout the years. It's always been very evident that he has a very good instinct for the position. His movements in that area, technically good with both feet, sees the game well, and understands the way. It's not just for us. The way that we play is a way a lot of teams playing around the world. He has the right instincts for the positioning and the play of that position in regards to the way we want to do it.
Hey, Peter, to go back to Benteke for a second, obviously there's the challenge of dealing with him in the penalty area, but I think the number is he won over 312 aerial duels last year, and the next closest guy in the league was like 112 or something like that. A lot of those happen at midfield when they're trying to, whether it's off a goal kick or just trying to get it out of their half. And I'm curious your thoughts on, I've seen some teams that have almost backed off to let him, because like he's going to win that first one. Let's make sure we don't let him lay it off to somebody who runs in behind. Other teams try to get really physical with him. I guess I'm curious just your thoughts on how you deal with that component of the game when he's trying to hold the ball up in the middle of the field.
I think first, just to talk about the stat, I think you also have to take into consideration the team may also play a lot more balls in the air to somebody as opposed to maybe the other teams, right? So that could be a part of it, but it still confirms that he's very good in the air. Right. I mean, that's the big thing. So to your point, I think every situation that occurs within a game is different, and it always comes down to the decision making of the individual players, right? But also in this case, it's the line. So there's some very basic concepts. That concepts are concepts. They're not black and white. You don't run them out the same way every single time, because as I said, they can be situational, but the concept is the concept. So an example is if you have a back four and you're marking this guy, when I go up behind him for the aerial duel, I may not win it, but these three other guys here, they drop in cover for anybody coming through. So if he wins the flick, you at least have the cover. If you're in three, it's the same idea, right? Or if this guy goes up, then these guys drop. So I don't want to mess up marketing, but so it's that cover as well. That you can say that for a guy like Messi, right? Like when players are really good at the dribble, you try to stack them up with more than one player. But guys like that sometimes can also slalom through you because they know how to set you up or set a group up. But the idea is to make sure you have cover in situations like that.
When it comes to your attack, I know it's a work in progress, and you've had pieces that have come in. Where are you, would you say, in the process of integrating those pieces, finding the chemistry in the final third right now?
It was, like I said, it was good this week. We were going to use Wednesday and Thursday for this. We only used more Thursday because we didn't train outdoors on Wednesday. But it was good to really work with that front group in and around the goal, which we did. Which we haven't had a chance to do. We haven't had a chance to do it yet since they've been here, just because of the many games with CONCACAF and then weather. Those two things had a major impact on our training. So it was really good. It's evolving for sure. There's a very positive note, and that is there's certain things that when you bring certain guys in, they already come with their gun loaded. I'm not trying to provide them with the ammunition. They already come with it. So there's things that they already do that we don't have to talk about, and you can kind of accelerate that really, really quickly.
As you have specifically Manu and Shabi in camp now to see how they are, and you've got some time to train with them, are you seeing things that maybe you didn't expect from them?
I would say yes to the answer. There's always what you never can gather, right? No matter how, unless you've worked with a guy. But if you've never worked with a guy and you do all your scouting, you meet with the guy, you do all those things. The one thing you never do is you never really have a feel for what the person is like inside the white lines to work with them every day. Are they coachable? Are they not coachable? You can ask all the people. You can do all your background checks and do everything you want. At the end, you're going to find out things that you didn't know. So the answer is yes. There's a lot of, like I said, there's a lot of positive things for sure. So far, I haven't found the negatives. That's good. That's really good. The positives are, like I said, that they come loaded with they've come loaded with more than I thought. That's a good thing on inside the white lines. Very coachable. Real desire. You can see there's a desire and a hunger for them individually to be really good, which that is always good for a team. And they have assimilated themselves to here really quickly. The final thing I would say for those guys is that they have a collaborative nature, which again is the whole idea here is to try to accelerate that adaptation and that those partnerships on the field and all that stuff, and so that all those things have been helping and moving in the right direction. I love the way Manu can control the tempo of the game. That's an important aspect that you need in every team. When we had Gotti had some of those qualities and some others. Manu controls the tempo even more, which is really good. But he also has the other side of it. Like a lot of guys that are able to do that, they can't, or they don't defend well when you need to. Like they're on the other side of the ball, they're not as good. He works in that part as well, and finds really good positions on the field, and has great vision, tremendous vision.
And those two guys look to be very big parts of this team this season, but they've already played about half a season before they came here. Is this a concern about a load management throughout the year?
I mean, I've dealt with that for years. It's always making sure that you pay attention to those guys. But the other thing that the two guys, I remember talking to them both before they came here, and they felt very good from a physical perspective. But that's something that you got to reevaluate, over the course of the season.
And then always have to ask, how's the health? Do you have pretty much everybody available? Or?
We do, other than Brody, suffered a knock in the last game, which gave him a little bit of a muscle issue. I'm not sure exactly the time frame, but it's going to be a little while. It's going to be weeks, not 12 weeks, but it's going to be some weeks here. I'm just not sure. It could be a little bit less depending on how fast it heals.
What's the balance for you of having patience, which you've talked about, and the team developing, and the knowledge that you've put yourself in some bad holes the last couple of years?
And everybody else lacks patience, so we could throw that out there too. Yeah, it's a hard thing to juggle, but in the end, it's I'll probably say this, and I'm sure it's not what most people would say, but I'll say it this way: is that I know what the situation is, right? And I know what we're trying to build towards. The good thing is I've seen the turn already. Like, I've already seen a turn within the group. And seeing that is very, very positive to myself and the rest of the staff. We still have a ways to go, and we have more turning to do. But we've already made a turn, and that's really, really positive. But I also know that right now I can't do anything else. We can't do anything else as a staff in what we're doing, unless we were doing 3 sessions a day with the guys. But then they'd be mush for the game, right? But we're putting the time in. We're spending a lot of time on details of the group, and then what's also happening is that there are guys that are here that we're also trying to get them to turn with those guys, and we're doing everything we can. But it's not like we're trying to slow it up. We're trying to do it as fast as we can, but we also have to, hard word. We have to be patient with that evolution of the group. But and again, these are all words that people can't stand. Process, patience, all that. But it is a process. It is. There's been teams in this league that have struggled for a decade. That's not our objective whatsoever. I mean, we want to be competitive right now, and we're not accepting anything less. But you also have to be able to, from week to week, understand kind of where your growth spots are, and still what may be some of your weaknesses. And some of those weaknesses are still trying to work on those things. And some of those are, listen, I'm being, again, frank. Some of them you need different players as well sometimes. And you're constantly making that evaluation, and then you're trying to move forward with it. At the same time, it's not like you can just magically just snap your finger and you go, oh, we'll just bring this guy in and now he'll do it. And, because you got salary cap, you got contracts, you got all these other things. Sometimes you have guys that they can do that job or they can't do that job. Sometimes a team evolves and the other guys can't evolve with the team that way. Then all of a sudden you see guys, they evolve in a way like you didn't expect. And you're constantly evaluating, and that's why it's a roster always remains, and it's an everyday, living, breathing document. It's never finished. Yeah.
Change up a little bit more. The 2 team gets their start this weekend with Estevan as the new coach, and it's always a mix of variety of players under contract, loans coming down, academy guys coming up. What do you expect from them this year?
So the academy and the second team are part of they are the pro player pathway. Okay. There is a real alignment between those 2 entities within our organization. And then there's another relationship with the first team. And so for every player that comes into this club through the pro player pathway, the second team is the bridge, because you have homegrown players or you have younger players on the first team that are going to play down on that team to keep fitness, try to keep form, all those types of things. You have kids that are in the academy who you're testing out in that environment to see if they can be one of those future players that eventually can get to the first team. And then you have second team players that are signed there that all they're focused on is trying to get to the second team. It's the job of the staff to make sure that alignment is in accordance with that kind of matriculation or desire to have that happen. And there has to be a real focus towards that. It's not as much as every team wants to win. It's about the individual making that jump and being able to function at the top team. So to be in alignment, for academy to second team to first team, and then all the way back down, there has to be this understanding of what that process is, and following those guidelines within that process, because they're very, very important. And then there's one other piece, and that is that there's a soccer aspect and there's what it's like to be a pro. Being a professional athlete is not easy. I know, like you see professional athletes play and you're like, oh, he did that. Like, there's a lot of ups and downs in your career, and every player has them. The best players in the world have them. Michael Jordan, best basketball player ever, wasn't winning anything early on in his career for a number of reasons. It wasn't because he wasn't good enough, but other things had to come together to get there. Messi wanted to stay in Barcelona for his whole life, I'm pretty sure. But things happened there that changed his trajectory. And so that wasn't easy for him, I'm sure. And you got to be able to withstand those ups and downs as well as a player, because it doesn't all go your way. And do you have the mentality to stick that out? Do you have the intestinal fortitude to be able to deal with the ups and downs of that? Because it's not easy. But it can be incredibly rewarding if you know how to deal with those things, and you can work and you can be intrinsically motivated. And every once in a while, that's where coaches come in. That's where staff comes in. I always say, like, we as the staff, we provide the environment. We provide, if I'm having to pull you, that's a problem. My job is to push. But if I'm pulling, I shouldn't be leading that with the pull. You should be out in front with me pushing you. And I'm not talking about leadership. I'm talking about your individual motivation to be what you want to be in this, in this sport, being a professional soccer player. That's our job, push, not to pull. And so everybody has to be in alignment with that, including the players.
Somewhere Z is really mad about your disrespect to Bill Russell right now.
True. That's fair. He would.
He would air me out about that stuff.
There'd be a few other people too. I would have forgotten that.
I was wondering if you could go into a little more detail when you talked about the start of the turn. And I apologize if you've already covered that before, but when you talk about the start of the turn that you're seeing already, is that a cultural thing? Is that a personnel thing? What are you seeing that's indicating the start of the turn, I guess?
There's probably 5 other things I could say to that. It's all the above. It's when I say the turn is that when I came into the team in 9, I had 2 weeks before my first game. The first week, and I even think part of the second week, we did double, going back, we did double sessions. And that's in the season. It's 10 games left. And those guys were like, what is going on? And that was all for me to kind of set the culture. Like, hey, look, hard work, effort, those are staples. That's not, you get a reward because you worked hard today. Like, that's a part of what you have to do. And so it's like culturally, for sure, the creating the next foundation of players within this club moving forward. Because as all of you know, you guys have been here, probably all of you have been around the team as long as I have, or maybe even longer. There's always, the success of this club has always been built around the foundation of players. And that foundation of players doesn't mean new guys only that you're bringing in. It's sometimes guys that you have here right now that are looking for that next step, whatever that next level is. It's attitude, it's production, it's contribution, it's the culture in the group, it's the style of play, it's the and then ultimately everything is centered around one thing: is trying to win. And when I say we're making the turn, you can see that this group already has somewhere to go, because it's a lot different than the first day of preseason we started. with the group, with the mentality. Even that group that we had the first day till the end of preseason, like there was a change, and that was really, really good. But we have a lot to work on. And I think any team that says that they don't at this moment, I think they're full of it. But we have a lot to work on because we're creating, I believe, a new foundation of players to sort of lead this team for the next, generation and what that's going to be, the next evolution of this club.